God's intention for his church is that we would be an archive or a server of Christ's data. Grace and peace, everybody. Welcome to Sabbath School Study Group, the church, a holy temple. This is part number 4 in our 5-part series on studying the horizontal aspect of reconciliation. What happens when we accept peace with God through Christ and how that peace plays out with one another. This was a powerful idea and concept that I'm not trying to geek out on anybody. I know that we're all in different places in our understanding of technology, but very simply put, when you look at how information is usually relayed, even what you're watching here online, you're probably watching this video, seeing this data being transferred to you. Well, it's not stored on your computer, right? It's not a file on your phone. But what's actually happening is that there's information that's being stored somewhere else, and it's being now transferred or loaded up to you and for you to be able to see. But it's not stored on your phone or on your device. The church is not called and not capable of creating that which it is actually intended to store. See, like a server doesn't create the video. I'm making the video. You're making a video. You create the content, right? But it's stored in that server. The church is the server. The data or information, the content, that's Christ. And when we really get this in our mind, it'll really help us to see who we should be looking to and not looking to. And it helps us to understand the role that we play. And it takes so much of the stress off of us that what we're really stressing about, we put it on the focus where it needs to be. So let's get some Bible to this point. In Ephesians chapter 2 verse 19 to 20, speaking of the church, because he's saying now, the writer Paul speaking to the Ephesians or the church at Ephesus, now therefore ye are no more strangers and foreigners, but fellow citizens with the saints and with the household of God, and are built upon the foundation of the apostles and prophets, Jesus Christ himself being the chief cornerstone. So we're using analogies to kind of get a grasp on how God intends his church to be constructed here. And if you would, then basically what we're seeing here is that you are this building. You are a structure. You're a warehouse of something very precious. The one who actually started all this, it's Christ, but we're built on a foundation. Apostles and prophets and the church. But underneath it is not people, it's the great one. It is the Savior. It is the Son of God. He's the foundation of this whole warehouse. But understand this, we're a warehouse, right? A temple even, a sanctified house. In 1 Peter chapter 2, verse number 5, Peter says, ye also as lively stones are built up a spiritual house in holy priesthood to offer up spiritual sacrifices acceptable to God by Jesus Christ. This role now, we're seeing, okay, all right, so we're a holy temple. Here Peter is saying that we're a holy priesthood, even a spiritual house, much like how a server houses data. We can see now, like, okay, everything that he is, I am, but I can't be without him. In other words, he's the data. I'm simply storing it. We are simply curating it and protecting it and even practicing what's stored within. One more verse in 2 Corinthians 6, verse 16 says, what agreement hath the temple of God with idols? For ye are the temple of the living God. As God hath said, I will dwell in them and walk in them, and I will be their God, and they shall be my people. Love the prepositions in this verse. Remember, prepositions are those words that let us know where stuff is in relationship to other stuff. And so God says, I will dwell in them. Now, it does not say that they won't walk, they won't talk, and they won't act like me. But I love the fact that he says, yeah, they're going to be my people, but it's only as I am present in them. This peace that we're talking about is not something you can't conjure it up. You can't fake it. You can't make an intellectual decision. No, You can do all those things, but it won't last. I'm not saying we can't do that, but it won't last. Somebody's going to turn your switch. Somebody's going to cross your corner. Somebody's going to pluck a nerve that you didn't even know. You thought it was dead. You didn't even know it was there. Okay? So who can look out for that? Nobody can account for all the mess that's going to happen to give us, and we still have peace. We got to have that in us from another source. We are servers to his content. We are warehouses of his data. And the data is what Christ can only give to us. We can't get it on our own. Much less, the only thing harder than getting it on our own is giving it on our own. It's not happening. So stop. If that's what you're trying to do, stop when we find ourselves frustrated in faith. That's just evidence that we're not in faith anymore. We're in a fury. And instead, God says, let's do this thing by faith. Invite him in. Invite him into the situation. Inviting him into the context. Because remember, after all, especially if it's a church, especially if it's a family, especially if it's a marriage, invite him into that house that he has built, that he has ordained and said, if you let me, I'll come in. But remember, your place is to house who I am. You can't do it on your own. Let him into your house, wherever that might be.